I, Fungwa Kunaka, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I
Switch off your mic. No, not. It was, yes, like it was.
I, Tawanda Zimunga, swear that the evidence that I will give in this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I, Nathan Gomo, I swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I, Farai Okonya, do swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
We have just been joined by two other honorable members. May you introduce yourselves, please.
Good morning. My name is Sam Chaputa, Senator from Mashingo Province.
Kwaswai Mambo Chirea, Senator from Midlands.
Thank you. Having done the introductions and taking the oath, now it's over to you, please, Kunaka, and your team to do your presentation. Thank you.
Once more, it's a very good morning, Honorable Chairman and members of the esteemed committee. We are here from the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. And like you have already indicated, we are joined by colleagues from public service, local government, and in particular civil protection. Honorable Chair, we are here in response to an invitation.
I'm sorry, I want to interject you. I seem to have skipped one important step, which is making reference to the letter that this committee wrote to you, which was dated July 3, 2026. I will not go into the details of the whole contents of the letter, but just to point out areas of concern. So then your presentation is relevant to what this committee would like to know from you. That is, the purpose of the meeting is for you to brief this committee on one, measures being taken by the ministry to ensure the safe, lawful, dignified repatriation of Zimbabweans from South Africa as a result of this xenophobic and Afrophobia violence that is taking place in South Africa. Number two, it is the coordination efforts being undertaken between Zimbabwe and South African authorities, including the profiling exercise. Three, challenges being faced in the repatriation exercise, including logistical, legal, and humanitarian aspects. Fourthly, it is measures being taken to facilitate the reintegration of detainees into Zimbabwe socio-economic activities. Thus, the letter or a reminder of the concerns by this committee, hence your presence today. Thank you. My apologies once again.
Thank you very much, the chairman and the chair of this committee. Like I have already indicated, we are represented as two ministries because we work hand in glove. And indeed, we had seen your invitation, Honorable Chair, and we are quite clear that we are discussing this issue, which is a national issue, which has to do with our people who have been affected by what is taking place in South Africa. So, Honorable Chair, I think with my team here, we should be able to address the points that you have raised in your invitation. So to kickstart that, I want to perhaps give a context to say, as a government of Zimbabwe, we have a responsibility to look after our citizenry, and we have a legal framework that enables us to do that. And as we try to look at how we address our people, we don't work in silos, work as a team and as a whole of government and whole of society approach. Just to give that context here in terms of details, when we look at our constitution, Honorable Chair, it requires us that we look after our people. We have to protect and also promote their social and economic rights as our people. So that's a mandate, but that is very clear. Besides the constitutional provision, we also have some supporting policies that we've adopted over time as government to look at this. One example of a policy is the National Social Protection Policy, which gives a framework through which we need to look at our people, those who are facing difficulties and who are vulnerable. We have to be looking after them. We also have, Honorable Chair, some particular acts of Parliament, like the Social Welfare Assistance Act. It asks government to look after the people who faces challenges and does empower government to be providing even financial assistance for people who are facing difficulties. We also have, in particular, as reference to this issue, a policy which we refer to as the National Migration Policy. This is an instrument which enables us to look at how people who are outside the country or working in other jurisdictions. And in this case, we are talking of South Africa. So we are trying to portray and give you, Honorable Chair, the context through which we come in as government. There are various other instruments like the National Labour Migration Policy, which also comes into play. So we thought members of this committee will need to appreciate that background. So when we faced the Honorable Chair, the issues we were developing in South Africa, we know that there are our people in KwaZulu-Natal, we have people in Gauteng, we have people in the Western Cape, we also have people in the Limpopo area. We quickly moved in as government to intervene. And the main effect that we saw happening, it started to be seen in the country from the 28th of May, 2026. That's when we started to receive people who were coming through our channels as government. And from that period, we'll give you statistics in terms of how many people have really come through our arms as government. So whilst we're looking at this process, Honorable Chair, the people who were coming and who were receiving here were being processed firstly through our embassy. We know that in South Africa we have an embassy, which is its consulate arm, which is supposed to look at our people and their welfare. So the people that were receiving a Beitbridge were initially processed in South Africa through our consulate, first in Pretoria and also in Cape Town. So these people who started coming from the 28th, they're coming through that process. And I'm glad that the embassy has been trying to assist very much, and we've been coordinating with them. We'll talk more about that. So having looked at that, Chairman, in terms of context, allow me to perhaps quickly look at what has been happening in terms of progress. When we look at that period from 28 May to the 19th of July 2026, I want to inform the committee that we have since processed through our efforts some 34,552 retainees. 34,552. These are the people who came from South Africa and sought assistance for them to be received here in Zimbabwe through Beitbridge. And when we say we are receiving these people, Honorable Chair, we have a facility as government in Beitbridge, which we call a reception center. The reception center has been there, not that it was created for this purpose, just for detainees, but it has been in operation for some time. and we actually constructed a facility which is there to hold people who are coming back. To construct this facility, we got assistance through an international organization, which is called IOM. They assisted in organizing and constructing that facility, so it has been there since the time of COVID and everything. So when this thing developed, we were quite ready to be able to receive our people through that receiving center. So the 34,552 people are people who came through that facility at Great Bridge. With the breakdown, the Honorable Chair, of that statistics of 34,552, we feel that we need to share the composition or breakdown of that figure. Thank you, Chair. If I may proceed. So we are saying in terms of what has happened since the 28th of May, some 34,552 people or returnees have come through. And I'm glad to share with the committee the breakdown of that 34,552. We have adult males who are 8,840. These are males who have come through returning from South Africa. The female component is 11,003. So we add the male and the female. Besides that figure, we also have minors who are small children who have come back from South Africa. The number 7,158 in terms of male. When we look at female in terms of minors, they come to 7,569. So this is just there to give a breakdown and appreciation of what type of people will come back. It's a mix of male and female, but it's also a good number of children who have come back whom are only minors. It's important to understand this breakdown because it gives you some sense of what sort of issues have to be addressed by the government of Zimbabwe. So this is the situation in terms of what has happened. I want to indicate, Honorable Chair, that when we are talking of this number, we have included statistics of these people who came even as late as 19 July 2026. Why I'm mentioning that is because the problem still continues. We still have our people coming back, and we still have a duty as government to look after those people who are still taken back home because of the challenge which is there. And like I've already indicated, we are working as a whole of government. Let me move on, Honorable Chair, to look at the key interventions that have taken place as we are receiving these people. The Great Bridge Support Center, we call it a reception center, and I've indicated that it was established many years ago. It has been there, and it has worked wonders for us because when this problem now was manifesting, we were able to attend to our people through that reception center. So it's meant to look after vulnerable migrants who come back from home, in particular those who are coming from South Africa. And the Ministry of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare is running that center with the support of other government departments. So we actually have a staff who are stationed who look at running the center on a day-to-day basis. So once we have people who have come through from the border and they've been processed by immigration, they are referred to the reception center. And there are some activities that we will explain later which take place at the reception center. So this center has been quite handy for us in terms of providing that service. What we also want to indicate, Honorable Chair, at the center we provide a number of services. These people require shelter at a certain point, and is provided there at the reception center. They also require food, which is being provided at the center. And these people, obviously, they need water and sanitation. They also require health attention, which is being provided. We actually have a clinic within the center, which is staffed fully to look after our people here. The people who also come in the center, they also receive psychosocial support. We sit down there with them to assess their condition, their needs, and everything else. We actually end up coming up with a profile to understand each and every person. Are you coming as a family? Are you coming as a head of that family? Are you just a minor kid who is not accompanied? We look at that. And we also assess where you are going. Because you are returning, you've been several years outside the country. We undertake that assessment in the center. So there are many issues that we look at. Then from there, Honorable Chair, we look at the transportation of these people. Because they are not coming to the center to stay forever. They have to find their way to their homes. They have to find a way to wherever they choose to be going. So we've been providing transport to move these people from Bedford. I want to explain, Honorable Chair, that at some point we had a bottleneck where, because of our capacity challenges in terms of transportation, we ended up having these people accumulating in terms of numbers at the center. When we look at what happened in mid-June, there were lots of people there because our transport could not cope. But that's where, when we talk of civil protection, you see the working of government as a whole of government approach. Civil protection was able to come to our rescue and marshaled some buses from Zupco and all over so that these people could move faster. So I think when we progress, we'll discuss more on that issue. So I was at the point to say from the receiving center, these people have to go into their places of choice. Some are choosing to go to their birthplace, which are their homes. Some are choosing to go to find relatives who are in the country. We try to facilitate that. There's been a challenge, Honorable Chair. I think I should be explaining some of the issues that we've now faced in the process. When we say we are transporting someone from Bedford, from the reception center, at times some of these people are not quite clear in terms of where they can go and find shelter. Some of them tell us we want to go to Mutare, but in terms of what exactly happens when they reach Mutare, it's an issue that has been before us, and trying to address it is quite a momentous issue. So we get people who come and say, I want to go to my original place. They go to a place like Govt. Perhaps there are no uptake facilities to take them to their rightful place and destination where they want to go. So these are some of the issues. But we are glad that this issue is being addressed because we have also communicated with political parties to try to look at this issue so that they take care of the people who are coming back. We've also ensured that our local authorities play a role in terms of looking after these people. We've equally said the government departments in the provinces also take an active role to try to address and receive these people when they get to their provincial areas. I think there's been some report to that effect. I also want to indicate, Honorable Chair, that through the civil protection, we have district committees and provincial committees who have been very active. And I think some of these issues about how we receive the people and how they are looked after in terms of interventions, we'll be able to understand them much more clear when Mr. Mkomo speaks to that issue. I was also saying, Honorable Chair, because we have a lot of minors who are affected, who are coming as part of the returnees. I shared the numbers. We actually have a children's center in the reception area that we have. The children's center is a facility which enables us to look after the minors, the small kids who are coming and returning. You know, these people have special diets. They cannot just eat ordinary meals and all that. They also have special attention in terms of medication. So we have a children's center within that. We also provide for recreation in the reception center, so that these people are coming. Some of them maybe they are going to spend a day, if not more. They need to be looked after. So those we are doing. So what we have been doing, Chairman, is to get all the government departments which are relevant to mobilize resources, including Ministry of Finance. At some point we had a challenge where the resources in the center were outstretched because of the numbers. But Ministry of Finance was handy to provide the resources for us to be able to procure the materials that we need to give these people meal, to be able to give them food on a day-to-day basis. We also had some challenge at some point, honorable senators, where because winter had come and the numbers were quite large, we had challenges in terms of blankets. So we had a week or so when there was that crisis. But through interventions of political parties, through interventions of government ministries, and even ZIMRA, we were able to marshal enough blankets for us to be able to take care of the people who were in the center. So that problem has since been resolved. We had along the way a very big problem in terms of transportation, like I alluded earlier. We had a bottleneck where the buses were coming from South Africa, and the uptake that we had taking them from Beitbridge to the various centers in the country, there was a challenge. But like I've already indicated, that issue is now a thing of the past, because the local government and through civil protection, we've been able to get over that problem by getting enough buses and fuel, which are able to collect the people as they come. Maybe we still have cases of a person who can spend 3 days in the center, but that is quite an improvement from the previous case where we had people staying over a week because of the bottleneck in terms of transportation capacity. So that is since been resolved. Chairman, when we look at whether or not there is coordination with South Africa in terms of our embassy, we want to confirm that there is indeed some working together that we have between the government ministries which are here locally and our embassy in South Africa. The situation is such that when we have people in South Africa who are facing difficulties, their port of call firstly is the embassy, the consulate. So they get there, the embassy profiles them and understands where they are coming from, the nature of their challenges, and from there the embassy arranges transport for the people to be repatriated back home. For us back home, what we get from the embassy is what we call a manifest. In other words, it's a register of the people whom they are loading each bus which is coming. So before any bus leaves South Africa, we get a register from the embassy, which is saying bus so and so is bringing so many people, these are so many children and the like. That helps us to prepare reception of those people and be able to account whether or not the bus that left with 20 people did reach Beitbridge with the 10, 20 people. So that coordination is there, is quite vibrant. But we have an issue which we understand is happening, and that is coming perhaps through media. We see that there are a lot of people who are trying to get assistance at the embassy. There could be some challenges there in terms of the numbers. But perhaps as we are constituted now, we are not quite qualified to speak in detail in terms of what is happening in the embassy. But the bottom line is there is coordination. We are getting information of the people they are loading there. We are also getting information of the buses which are leaving, so that we are able to account here when they get here. So the 34,000 people they have come through that process where they are dispatched through the embassies and they come to the border and we receive them. And those people have been dispatched throughout the receiving areas in the various provinces. That has been happening. So when we look at what could be the challenges that we are still facing, the main challenge, honorable senators, is that of resources. We believe that for this process to be very smooth and efficient, we need adequate funding for food provisions. We continue to require support in terms of fuel, which is required for the buses to transport these people. And we may also need to consider the uptake from the reception rate centers in the provinces for these people to really find their way right to the place of choice where they want to go. There's been a consideration which perhaps you may need to take note of the S committee. There's been a consideration that if these people are coming back, we need to assist them to the extent of giving them some startup. Startup could be anything like cash. Startup could be anything like any other materials which can assist these people find their feet when they get home. So far, we have not received the resources which are enable us to give these people who are returning some cash startup. That has not been possible. But I want to indicate that when the problem started initially, an international organization, the IOM, it considered coming up with some support mechanism which was going to be able to facilitate to give people some startup. But later on, I think they discovered that because of the numbers, it was going to be very difficult to cope up. So it's an issue which is still on the table to say when our people are returning, what assistance can we give them in terms of startup? Depending on the numbers, it might be a difficult financial call, and we still leave it on the table to see whether or not there will come a time when we are able to follow up and give these people that kind of support. There are also issues we have encountered, Honorable Chair, along the way. The people who are returning, we have been looking after the Zimbabweans. But because the country is also a transit point for other nations, for example, Malawi, there have been returnees coming from South Africa and intending to go to South Africa. We have had 1 or 2 cases where when these people were transiting through Zimbabwe, there was a challenge. Either because of breakdown of their transport, some of these people wanted kind of to just mingle and disappear into our society. And it was an issue which our law enforcement, I think they quickly tried to address. We are not raising it as a challenge, but it's something that we encountered along the way, because there are people who are transiting and coming from there. But I'm confirming that our law enforcement is not up to the task and alert on that particular issue. The last issue that I could cite, honorable members, in terms of challenges is beyond the startup. We need full support of these people in terms of them being able to be fully reintegrated into the society. I think all of us are quite aware that our principal has been at the forefront to encourage the whole of government and whole society to be able to receive these people we are returning. These people, like I indicated, there are some where children have come back. We also have some cases where people are just vulnerable and they have no coping means. So the issue that we have to look at is the full integration of these people. The minors who have come, some left school there, they need to go into school. And it's an issue that all our ministries as government are being encouraged to look at. Like I'm saying, the president has been at the forefront calling for us to be receptive to these people. And it's an issue that we would want to continue encouraging. So I think, honorable senators, the main issue that we need to look at is the coordination and the whole of government approach, where not just government, but even civil society, our churches, our traditional leaders, and everybody else needs to be open-minded and be able to receive these people are coming. On the part of government, I think we have done sufficiently well in terms of receiving these people. Of course, there are these issues, like I indicated, we get a sense that there are still a number who still require assistance in South Africa. And I'm sure the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is on top of the situation to look into that. So I wanted to perhaps share with your indulgence to stop here and ask my colleagues to chip in if you allow them.
Thank you, Rakunaka. Yes, you can come in now.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, honorable senators. I'm sure, let me also give a context, like what PS Kunaka has said. The Civil Protection Act that we administer says that in Section 2, when there is an influx of refugees or an influx of returnees, this becomes a disaster. It doesn't require His Excellency to declare a state of disaster because it's already defined in the statutes. And I am sure this repatriation and reintegration of our people is actually threatening the well-being of our people who are returning and even the current host communities. And I am happy that PS Kunaka has talked about two approaches. He has talked about the government-assisted returnees, and the second one, which has got a larger volume of people coming back, are the self-repatriated citizens of Zimbabwe. So there are two approaches to all this, and we'll deal with the numbers when we come to the statistics. And I'm sure what PS Kunakawa said, yes, our people have lost livelihood. Some had welding machines, but because they were ferried in a hurry, they couldn't carry some of their equipment. That's another area. But we have people who have been in South Africa for more than 13, 20 years. And some have got pensions, injury on duty pensions, which they were earning in that area. And some have worked formally in various sectors. Again, the pensions is one of those issues that they've also lost. And I'm sure Foreign Affairs will not wait like Wenela. When you try to look for people who worked under Wenela, they have disappeared, some have died, and it will be really a problem. So allow me, Honorable Chairperson, that I use the Disaster Risk Management Register. And I'm sure, let me start with search and rescue, which PS Kunaka has talked about. I'm sure on search and rescue, it is the responsibility of Ministry of Foreign Affairs in that in all the 9 provinces, if not 10 of South Africa, we have consulate services who are registering our people. And I'm happy that again, deportation has since been suspended as people now voluntarily come back home. We can no longer have people being taken to Lindela, which is the prison in South Africa, except them being led by the police officers to our consulates in the various provinces that I have mentioned. And I'm sure when we come to Beitbridge again, this is where again this is our main center in Zimbabwe, and this is again where search and rescue is done, even the screening of the people, because when you look at some of the people, it's not only Beitbridge that we look at. There are about 5 in Matabeleland South, Mofeng, Mlambapele, and so forth and so forth. Again, these are entry points into Zimbabwe. And some people are now jumping the border, coming back to Zimbabwe. And you will see that they also hesitate to have their fingers taken for other reasons. And that creates a lot of discomfort. Since this is the thematic committee on peace and security, those are some of the issues. Some just come and dump their people in Zimbabwe and they cross back again to South Africa. So in this whole issue, there is a standing cabinet committee on environment, emergency preparedness, disaster prevention and management. It has got 19 ministries, and these 19 ministries chaired by local government, they must come up with some decisions in all the issues PS Kunaka was saying about. And the response, I think he said it very well. I'm sure for now, with the assistance of partners and corporates, we have added a pair of hands at Bainbridge. If you go there now, there is sanity. And the numbers now that they are dwindling from South Africa, for now, I think we have done a lot in clearing some of the issues. You would find that we send about 18 more officers to Bainbridge under the auspices of the Higher Life Foundation, who are paying for the welfare of those people, and they did a wonderful job. So the congestion that we used to have at our center with a capacity of 300 people, I think if you go there, you can actually smile as our people who always look at the way government operates. So I'm happy that PS Kunaka has talked about community reintegration and resilience building. I think this is where we have the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge in terms of the resources which he has talked about, but the biggest challenge in the sense that, remember, we have some of the youth, some of the women who are not employed, and when we start coming up with targeted programs for people who are coming back from South Africa, people will also look at that and say, we have been in this country. We never went to South Africa. Why is government not doing the same for us? So, but you know, under civil protection, when we relocate people to an area where there is an old community, we always try to balance the act in that area. So I'm sure this whole issue Mr. Kunaka was talking about will not only end on targeted programs, but also I'm happy that in this committee there are a lot of traditional leaders, and the traditional leaders are now part of the coordination architecture of disaster management, because as part of local government, they are part of local government for now. They are as decentralized as some of the political parties are. You can actually match a village head to a cell and so forth and so forth. So I'm sure they will do their best. But more importantly in this program, Honorable Chair, the skills audit, the skill audit program, they are doing that again just to see whether people have benefited by being in South Africa. In all, so we are now at 28,000, where we have captured the skills from the various people, and it's unfortunate that we didn't print the report from the skills audit exercise, which we think is very important. But in his presentation, he has talked about social reintegration, economic reintegration, and cultural reintegration. Remember, There are people who were born in South Africa. They were socialized in that kind of society, but when they come here, it is the duty of our traditional leaders to ensure that we do that. Then on coordination, as by virtue of being local government and civil protection, we are the coordinators of this program. All the 19 ministries, with Honorable Ndudzo representing the 10 provincial ministers of state, he is part of this committee. And I'm sure when it comes to coordination, being a PS, when it comes to coordination, yours truly can actually talk to Wazimunga on what to do on this area. And we are not recreating or reinventing the wheel, because the architecture that we used during Cyclone Idai is the architecture that we are using. We are just tweaking it. During COVID-19 is the same architecture, and we just see who is the lead agency in that process. So I'm sure you can actually share the architecture with the chairman on page 5. You can give him the chair. On page 5. That's the architecture. We look at government departments, MDAs, and the development partners and cooperating partners. It talks to that. So, and in the creation of the 10 committees, Honorable Chair, we have created 10 committees to ensure that in our coordination efforts, we touch on each and every issue. If you look at information and data management, and what they do is their data analysis and the daily situation report. Social protection, he has talked about that. Logistics and transport, including catering services, I'm sure he has talked about. But on transport, we were assisted by various corporates. Bridging Gap is now around 158 buses, the Stallion Cruise, which they've hired for us. And you look at Intratech, they've given us 20,000 liters. You look at Forge Construction, they've given us how many? 30,000 liters. So I'm sure what's important is to use the intended, the donations for the intended purpose. And to date, we have 416 that have left, 416 buses that have left Beitbridge to various 10 provinces of this country. Health and WASH, I'm sure we have a clinic which is operating 24/7 at Beitbridge. But from what PS Kunaka was saying, there is need to replenish some of the, especially issues in the farmers. They need to be replenished, and that clinic is. We are also being assisted by MSF and WHO to attend to some of the issues. And for now, they are only diarrheal diseases which are common, and the respiratory issues. And the respiratory issues, we are in winter, and people need warm clothes. And I'm happy that the ruling party has given us 2,000 blankets, and these are the 2,000 blankets that we are using. Doves has given us 110 blankets, and these are the blankets that we are also using. Border management is very important. Infrastructure, we have improvised by putting some tents. Security, this is very important. Attend to all security issues, border and in-country surveillance. You remember when we started allowing the Malawians to pass through the area, what the secretary was saying, some unscrupulous bus companies would actually take money from the Malawians and say, we want to fuel our bus, can you wait for us here? And they go away with the money. So I'm happy that our securocrats are dealing with that, and I'm happy that the Ministry of Home Affairs, who are a member of this committee, through immigration, they are now accompanying the buses from Beitbridge to Nyamapanda to ensure that there are no reports of people dropping off in Harare. Coordination and resources. I'm sure our register is, unfortunately, we also didn't bring it here. You can actually see who is giving us from Angel of Hope to the last well-wisher who has donated towards this common cause. Communication and advocacy. This one requires to do a lot, in the sense that we need to communicate with our relatives in South Africa that we don't want to lose lives. We don't want to deal with a disaster within a disaster. If the people say you must leave, they must leave. I know of 2 cases of people who were not documented and who died along the way from Cape Town to Beitbridge. And we are taking our time to ensure that the South Africans understand that he is a Zimbabwean, because they are relatives. But I'm sure this is an area where communication can do public awareness, can do media engagement, so that we receive our own citizens in Zimbabwe. I know in towns it might be difficult, but if they go to the rural areas where there are no sub deals, because Communal Act says if one vacates his place for 7 years, that place can be parceled, and I'm sure there are no conflicts of that. Government support in South Africa, I think Honorable P.S. Kunaka has talked about. The reception center he has talked about. Plumtree Reception Center, for now it has received 639 at Plumtree, but we want to ensure that we deploy officers to all the Maitengwe and everything, all the entry points, so that people do not use undesignated entry points. And provincial and district reception centers, on this one, we are using civil protection structures. As P.S. Kunaka was saying, the DDC is a member, or is the chairperson of that civil protection committee at district level, and the chiefs are also chairpersons of their various wards, and the villages are also chairpersons of their villages. Statistics, as I said, Honorable Chair, we are now at 111,887 citizens from South Africa using the 2 approaches, government assisted and those who are volunteering to come to Zimbabwe. Resource mobilization, I think you saw our minister signing a joint resource mobilization with the UN resident coordinator, and I'm sure we are going to get the desired result from that. Food and non-food items, I'm sure if we are to go to Beitbridge and see how many tons and tons which were given by Angel of Hope, our corporates, our goals, I'm sure we are trying our level best to ensure that every person who arrives at Beitbridge has got a hot meal, but we don't allow them to stay there for too long a time. Then funding mechanism, it was only yesterday we had requested for 114 million from finance to undertake this exercise, but they have given us $2 million US dollars, which is almost half of what we require. So we'll use the little that they provided us to cater for some of the issues. Partner support, I think PS Kunaka is talking. I think I submit the chair for now.
Thank you once again. Zita Ragare, sorry. Mundibatsiro pastoring. Vankomo, maita basa ne presentation yenyu. Any further submissions from your team before we come in with the questions and clarifications? Yes, yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I want to indicate to the committee that we have gone out of the way to try to assess the structure and nature of the people who are coming back. You mentioned the skills audit. We have also tried to profile the people who have come back to try to understand the nature of their families and whether or not they are able people. So we've taken in for our time to try to look at that. We undertook some sampling that we did. The clear outcome which we find, the Honorable Chair, is that the returnees, yes, they are coming back, but many of them are women. Many of them are families, so it means that there are some families which are kind of on the verge of breaking up because of the disruption, because these people, perhaps it's the mother who is said to leave, and perhaps it's only a child who has been put on the bus who has come back. So there are these effects that we need to be contending with. But I'm just saying that there's much more that we need to do to understand these people who have come back. And we are on it as government to try to really understand. But I think the last one is when we are looking at this, we want to appreciate the fact that there are other partners who have really been handy to assist us, making provisions like IOM has provided some food before we came with the hot meals. They were giving some vouchers for meals and also vouchers for transportation and all that. UNICEF has come in with some tentage and also some provisions for the clinic because we have children who are involved. And I think, Honorable Chair, it's a good thing that as a government, we look at the security issues which arise. And that's why the issue of the committee and the coordination is very critical. So I want to appreciate the fact that you have invited us for this. Thanks so much.
Thank you once again, PS Kunaka. Now, honorable members, we've had the presentations. I come to you with areas of clarification, questions, and perhaps let me start off myself. And the way we are going to do it is perhaps raise 4 questions and areas of clarification, and any one of you can respond to that, and then we go into the second round. I'll start off the ball rolling. You spoke about skills auditing with the intention to understand whether these particular individuals learned of those skills in South Africa, and we will find it also useful to say they learned something that they will immediately put to use as they are being reintegrated reintegrated into society. It is going to be useful in terms of their well-being. Are you also asking in terms of the number of years of each individual as you profile each individual to know the number of years these individuals or retainees have stayed out there in South Africa, which I think is also equally important. That will also kind of give us information as to whether these individuals still have families here in Zimbabwe whom they can join or they cannot, or they are starting afresh. Secondly, you spoke about self-repatriation. Do you have any numbers of self-repatriation regarding that? And what has been the program that you have come up with in terms of assisting those who have self-repatriated themselves? On the issue of Malawians, I'm sorry, I have quite a number of issues, but this should be the last and leave the rest to honorable members. On the issue of Malawians on transit to Malawi, I've been reading in the media in Mbare, where it is being reported that we have quite a number, and the number is increasing on each day of Malawian origin and suspected to be part of the retainees. Vari kuwanda kumbari uko. Is it any information that has come to you? And if it has, what steps have been taken in order to ensure that, of those Malawian origin, they are repatriated to Malawi, because there are issues of security, as you mentioned earlier on. And it is going to cause an upheaval. And Mbare being Mbare as you know it, about it. Thank you, honorable members. Raising a question? Yes, Honorable Ndovu. I'll come to you, Chief Ngungubani.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honourable members from the ministries. Right, my question is, I come from Matebele South, Plumtree in particular. From Plumtree to Bridge, I want 5 border posts. But why did you choose to only utilize Bridge? There so big people coming from South Africa, and were there any provisions in Bridge to cater all these returnees in terms of toiletries and so on? If not, then the area is now in a mess. But let me hope you had when people from Plumtree and Matopo, when they go to South Africa, they use any entry point. Don't use entry points that they've got their way of going there. But now that people are being brought here back, and you pile them in Bridge, surely how long will they take in there? The government is losing so much money to cater for these people. Yet, if you had Plumtree border post, Maitengo border post, and the one in Matopo, surely it would have been very easy to say it through, so these people can go back to their homes. And finally, maybe the returnees. There are some people who, with the cases possibly ran away from crimes here, but is there an amnesty to cater for those people if they want to come home? What are the provisions? Are they still going to be arrested, or they will be free? I want to find out there. I think let me rest my case a bit here.
Thank you, Honorable Ndlovu. Chief Ngungubani.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I appreciate the team that is before us. They've given us a handful, and this issue is quite a very emotive issue because we're dealing with relatives, some who had not set foot, I don't know for how many years. Chair, mine is the issue of statistics provided by Civil Protection and the PS. The PS gave us a figure of 34,552 retainees that have been processed. But in the write-up that I have before me,
You mentioned that, Honorable Ndo, that there are 5 borders from Plumtree right up to Maitengwe. So Mofeng, Mlambapele, and other border posts, this is where we are now constructing temporal structures so that we deploy officers. Not only the ZRP or immigration or registrar general. We want a contingent similar to the one at Bedbridge to be manning all these 5 border posts that you have talked about. It's not a question of us wanting to congest Bedbridge. It's the way where we have talked about search and rescue. And when we are talking about search and rescue, it's about saving life. And people leave South Africa in a hurry. They only come with nothing except their lives and their children. So it's not about congesting Bedbridge, but it's about trying to save the situation. And when we ferry them from Cape Town, Durban, or any other province, Mpumalanga, we cannot only hire a bus with 5 people to go to Mofeng or to Mlambapele. So we wait for people to fill the bus for Matebeleland South and their various districts so that we can dispatch it to those areas. Malawans in Mbare, I think you have talked about that. I also talked about that in that after seeing this problem, which you have talked about, which also Cabinet talked about 17,000 Malawans. And I'm happy that the security did their investigation. And that's why now the immigration, they are the chairperson of this subcommittee. It's not only that immigration goes with the returnees or those repatriated from South Africa, is the immigration so that there is smooth exit at Nyamapanda. So you will say, I have brought these 50 people for Malawi. Can you please process them so that they leave our country? But with police officers and so forth. Just the same way, as I said, we were doing with COVID-19. We had Malawans passing through Zimbabwe, but you would then escort them from Bedbridge right up to Nyamapanda, and would also talk with Mozambique so that there is a smooth passage for the Malawans in that country, unless PS Kwanda has something to add.
Perhaps, sorry, before PEMSEC Kunaka come in, Chief Ngongongani raised the issue of other nationalities. Is it only Malawans who are passing through, or there are other nationalities?
Mostly they are the Malawans, but we also have some, so mostly they are the Malawans, but we also have Zambian citizens passing through, but they don't give us the same challenge with our Malawian counterparts.
Over to you, PS Kunaga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and our senators. I think the issue of the challenge of our Malawians, I want to confirm that it's not only the Malawians, especially when we see the challenge of children living on the streets. At some point, we had quite some influx of such people were coming from Mozambique, and we undertook some exercise to take them back to the border, but in a joint effort in collaboration with Mozambique. So when we look at the situation at Mbare, I think it's a mixed bag. As a day-to-day operation under Ministry of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, we have a mandate to look at children who are living on streets. At some point, we were mistaken that it's our people from Epworth and the like who were flooding the streets, only to realize that some of these people were youths coming from the neighboring countries. So I have no information of any Malawians who have come back from South Africa. We have made it a point to say now they will stay behind and go to Mbare. But I know in Mbare there are these foreigners, and they've been coming through this other process, where because of the real challenges there, we have youth coming in. But like I'm saying, we've always been taking some measures as ministry to coordinate their repatriation. And at some point, I think you can comment on that. Yes. But I'm glad that Mr. Nkomo has addressed the issue of statistics. It's a combination of those people who are coming through our centers and those who are self-repatriating. This can come to the 111 or so. But I think one point that has to be made very clear, we have always been read Senator Law. That's why we sound that at Bedbridge we already have a center. It has been there for some time, and I alluded to the fact that it was established many years ago. So when this issue arose, it became a natural first choice of a center to address this issue. We are receiving our nationals. But the other borders, I think they can also play that role. It's only that we're not fully deployed there in terms of capacity for us to monitor. But some exercises now started for us to look at those, and we have some numbers which are now monitoring to say how many have passed through Poing, how many have now come through Plumtree and the like. But on a day-to-day, we know that these borders are alive with people coming in and going out. But what we're reporting in terms of those who are assisted by government, we are looking at what our embassy in South Africa has been able to look at, and also informed us is that these people are coming back. But on a day-to-day, people are coming back to Zimbabwe, running away from the challenges which are being affected, seen there. Then the issue of the amnesty, I don't think as government will come to that yet. And I don't think we want to take this issue of the challenge to say it's an opportunity for us to pounce on whoever has some case to answer. I'm sure the security people are going to take advantage, and they also look at that. They cannot just ignore a case when it is quite clear and apparent that some sort and so in the case which is pending. I think that's a daily occurrence. They will profile people who are coming back and try to look at where is the case. But I'm just putting a point across that it's not like government will going to take advantage of this and say it's an opportunity for us. We want everyone back, whether a criminal or not. These are our people. And if you have a case to answer, I think the law will take its due course. But I'm just trying to say, Senator, it's not good like an opportunity for us to bounce on these people. Let them come back. And I'm sure we are open to that, and our security people will be able to follow up on each and every case. From the embassy, we profile, at the border we are profiling, and when they get to the province, the civil protection committees are also profiling. So I don't think these people will be able to escape the same. So that is being looked at in the process. Madam Chair, I want to also look at the issue of the documentation. At the embassy, when you present yourself, that's the first thing they look at. How come you are in South Africa? Do you have documents? Are you registered even back home? They look at that. We also look at that when they come to the repatriation center in Bedbridge, and also across the board. When they go to the province, we look at that. We are taking advantage of the process. Those people who require registration are going to be referred to civil registry for the papers. Then the people who require education, that's where I was alluding to the fact that as government, the Second Republic has said we are not going to turn away the kids who have come back. We require reintegration, and reintegration includes the issues of schooling. If minors are coming in, and I reported that there are quite a large number who have come back, want to make it a point that the education system readily accepts them. The issues of fees payment, I think we already have programs as government. If it is a case which you qualify for BIM, we are going to ensure that those kids are enrolled and supported so that they are not disadvantaged. So I don't think we'll be short of interventions to assist those who come back into school. And it's an open invitation that those who are coming, let them go to school. And I think the message has already gone to schools and to the education sector that we want these people reintegrated. The same is also happening to people who might come back and they require medical assistance. We want to ensure that our healthcare system is also supportive and open to receiving those people. So these issues, I think, they are being coordinated. That's why we talk of reintegration. It's very critical. The issue is we may not have done it at the right pace because this issue is just evolving. But I think as we are progressing, we see that a lot of these issues which are still open, the gaps, they are being addressed. And the issue of the cabinet committee, I think, is also playing its role. And I think more of that is going to be, any loose ends are going to be tied up. But including the issues of security vetting is very critical. And I think it's under control. And the whole of government approach, we are really emphasizing on this. But Madam Chair, I think we need to appreciate that there are some issues which are really in the domain of diplomacy. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be able to better qualify to look at what is happening on the ground in terms of case by case and these issues of ill treatment of our people. And I think they fall in that domain of the diplomatic sphere. So we will not be able to perhaps answer fully that. But I'm sure the embassy, these cases which are documented,
Is they are documented, is it not then apparent for you to also request that information for us to then have, to be in the know?
And I think we need to do that. In fact, when we are talking of all of government, in next engagements, people like the Minister of Education, Foreign Affairs, will have to be added also, so that we are explaining each aspect fully. But I'll take back some of the concerns so that we respond.
Okay.
And we shall
follow. Yes, Honorable Chairman. Another Honorable, yes, Honorable Kambizi, anyone? Honorable Manyinga Wana, Honorable Nyakazonke, Honorable Govt. In that order, thank you.
Can I unpack my questions and also
on your microphone?
Can I ask the question, or can I first start with my follow-up question, then I ask my questions?
Do your follow-up and then ask your question.
Just a follow-up, yes. Out of 14,727 miners, what have you done in terms of tracing the guardianship and also the education, placement, and special care for these unaccompanied and accompanied minors? And then my question, under which specific section of the Civil Aid Protection Act that and risk management legislation that automatically constitutes a disaster without a declaration by His Excellency? And then the second question is that from the Treasury, you requested 14 million. 114 million. Okay. And you got 2 million. How does Ministry intend to fund the shortfall for food, transport, and shelter for the remaining detainees? And then...
Is your microphone on?
Okay, all right. And then the last one.
Use the next microphone. It's switching.
Oh, switching. Okay.
Off switching. I don't know.
Can you kindly give us the breakdown by province and district for the 34,000 returnees to enable the traditional chiefs and those who are in the planning for the integration, so that at least we are informed that each district, each province got this. And again, you spoke about the statistics of the skills. At what stage are we going to get those statistics to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, to the Ministry of Small Business and Scale, so that they can be integrated, and for us, so that we can appreciate as well? Thank you.
It's your turn, Honorable Gambisi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I have two very small questions. The first one has something to do with spouses. When our people went to South Africa, some were single, both male and female. And when they got there, they all got married and had children. Are you allowing somebody to bring his or her wife back to Zimbabwe and the children born out of that wedlock? Number two, when our people left for South Africa, some went as far as 20 years ago. And when they come back, after the Great Bridge, you indicated that they will have to indicate, I'm going to grow such a village. One gets there is not even a single house there. Gets to the village yet, and the people have since relocated also, and some have died too, except that no relatives are found. And then that person becomes a destitute and desperate. What then is the government doing about that? Otherwise, I would like to thank the PS and the team. The presentation was just a spot on, and we are happy about it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. In the order indicated earlier, the next question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I want to appreciate what the Minister has done in the cabinet, but I'm also looking at the issue of people that were seeing. I come from the south, which is also a dry region. There isn't much in the fields in terms of foods. So the people that we also see in the area, there are also challenges. Do you have a backup in terms of
Your microphone is
sorry,
not on, sorry.
Sorry, Honorable Chair.
You have to start afresh.
Yes, I said I want to appreciate the Minister and the government, what they are, the service that they are giving to the people of Zimbabwe that are coming from South Africa. But the Belt and South is a dry region, and there isn't enough in the fields. Do you have a backup in terms of food support for the people that we are bringing to the communities? And also, we look at a service within the health system, whereby a service is different from a treatment. There are people that will also come with ailments, not feeling well, and in South Africa, they are under treatment. But when they go to the clinics, there are no drugs. These people, they don't even have any money to buy. We also see female ladies, or maybe say, that have children born from parents, whether from South Africa or any other nationality. Who also maybe say want to look at how we are going to be assisting these when they come to the villages. The person already has kids and there isn't enough food for the children. I thank you.
Honorable Manyangawana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got two questions. The first one is, I understand, PS, you've got a lot of Zimbabweans in South Africa, and according to your figures, we have about, let's say, 34,000 or 100-something thousand. Do we have a number from your consulate in South Africa of immigrants that are going to come or are preparing to come to Zimbabwe? Do you have the number which are going to come in? And I understand this program is ongoing, and are we prepared to care all the immigrants, to transport the Zimbabweans from South Africa, from your figure that you gave about $4 million. And to add on to that one, besides these private players, you also have some other, do you have other resources apart from treasure to fund the transportation of our people? And my last question, PS, is on the number of the returnees. How much are we expecting as a country from South Africa, the undocumented and documented? Thank you.
Before I give you PSN team to respond, let me also add. I just want a clarification in terms of the role of chiefs in the whole. Oh, sorry, Mandlovu. No. Let me hold on. Please go ahead.
Finish yours.
No. Go ahead. I'm giving you the opportunity. I'd forgotten about you. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you'll be aware that in the 1980s, Matabele in the provinces had a serious problem where most of the young people and the old people left and went to South Africa. When they return now, most of them, they have no homes where to go. How ready is the government, maybe through the chiefs, to rehabilitate or accommodate these people in various areas? One, in terms of accommodation, in terms of food, when schools they are there. Is the last one. Some people are coming to towns. How ready is the Ministry of Local Government to construct houses for these people who are coming from South Africa, being repatriated, big home, but they have no homes, nowhere to stay. They cannot keep them. They have to take it center for a long time. So how ready is the government to accommodate them? Thank you.
Since we said this is the last round of, so honorable members, anyone who still has got areas of clarification, this is the opportunity. Perhaps follow up to what Honorable Ndlovu has just raised. During Bukura Burundi, there were claims that most of the young Ndebeles, if I may call them, had to escape to South Africa without documentation. And I want to believe now they are returning. As they are returning, how is the ministry or the team, the cabinet committee, handling the welfare of the returnees, handling this issue? Perhaps the parents died or whatever, and they have no reference whatsoever to make in terms of some of the statutory requirements by citizens. If you are to register to get a citizenship documentation, chitupa birth certificate, then I was asking also, making reference to the role of chiefs, as you said, they've become part of the disaster management team. What role exactly are they playing in the whole exercise? And is it possible also for us to, as a committee, to have the list of donors and what has been donated in terms of, to the whole exercise to cater for the welfare of the returnees in kind, cash, whatever. And finally, the returnees who have lost their belongings, they are living in a half. Some are being looted. I read about some returnees in Cape Town who were asked to say, board the buses. Your goods will load them in other buses. Chindai, Zimbabwe, Aruzhirikutere. and they got here, their belongings just disappeared, looted, and some were even thrown to rubbish pit. How is your team addressing such issue where retainees are being hoodwinked to say we are supporting your repatriation, but in the process they are, I don't know what term I can use, in terms of, hating them and taking their belongings by such means when they were trusting that they are being assisted. And since the beginning of the exercise, PS Kunaka, you said makatanga 28 May ndizvo kuunza vanhu ndopatakazotanga. Mungagona kutipawo here kuti 28 May and the deadline was 30 June ndizvo? Is it still an exercise ichiri kuenderera mberi yekuti vanhu vari kuuya kuzoti we need to be repatriated as we speak now, or it has maybe come to a halt because hapasisina numbers acho? Then finally, there is this nyaya spread of diseases. Paimbotaurwa nyaya, what do you call this disease being spread by rats? We read about it. Spread by rats. What are we doing in terms of, having maybe to quarantine or to examine against all that? Is there anything being done about that? Because for peace and security, yes, these are some of the issues that we need to raise and see how best we are preventing, such things hitting the society. Okay. Yeah, perhaps you may respond because Wangungumani had some further issues to raise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable senators and esteemed members of the committee. I think what we need to underscore is the fact that our people are being pushed out of South Africa because of circumstances. But our people also, you find them to be a bit funny in that some of them are not responding and coming on their own to government because we have said our hands are open. So we get some people who are coming to the embassy and these are being processed. And yet again, we have some people who are still locking themselves in some backyard or in the houses there. They are not really finding it within them to come back home. So there is a mixed bag that we are looking at. For those people who are coming up voluntarily and coming in the open and to are reporting to our embassy, we are encouraging that they make sure that the information about their personal effects which are being left behind, their personal pensions and all that, we are trying to make sure that they are encouraged to report this so that they are recorded. But like I'm saying, some people are coming and yet others are not. So it presents a challenge, but I'm sure if we take stock of what has been documented, we should be able to come with a response. And this way we are going to be able to respond at a diplomatic level and even institutionally to see how these things can be resolved. The issues of tracing will remain in place. Or there are some people who are remaining there, but not that they are comfortable where they are. So this exercise of documenting and tracing, we have to continue. So there is still a lot that has to be done in this regard. And I think we are going to take some of the questions here as works in progress that we need to look at and try to come back. It brings me to the issues raised by Senator Shabangu. The 4,700 miners, we will be able to share information in terms of how they've been distributed through the country. But we need a further exercise for us to be able to track them, to be able to confirm which ones have now gone back into school, which ones are being processed in terms of going back in such cases. We don't have in this meeting the particular details in terms of how they've been absorbed. But it's something that we can do. Perhaps if we get 2 weeks or something, we should be able to liaise with other MDAs to come up with the statistics. This also speaks to the issue of the 34,552. We have information in terms of which ones have been dispatched where, and we should be able to share that statistics. We just didn't bring it, but it should be able to do that. Then I want to confirm that yes, there are situations where these people ended up marrying and starting homes in South Africa. The main issue, what will be critical, is for us to be able to document each case. Each party to the family needs to be documented. When someone got married there, some might have some registration that took place in South Africa, and where there is evidence for that, that person will have no reason to deny coming back with their father or with their spouse that is coming back. So those we should be able to allow. Just like any Zimbabwean who is going there, we should be able to trace them to understand whether they are civilly registered or not. Those cases can be looked at. We won't be able to prevent cases where the disruption in the families, but it will all depend on the status of the relationship which was there. A formalized relationship, we have no other way but to ensure that the repatriation is all embracing. I think that's what I can say. There are some people who have been there for many years, like you are saying. The issues is they would want as a first choice to come back to home where they originated. But because of circumstances, it could be possible that the home is no longer there, or there's no one to receive them. They're not welcome. So these issues become directly social welfare cases. So in social welfare cases, it's not just the ministry or government. We also have the churches, we also have traditional leaders, they have to come in. But each case will depend on each circumstances. I think the issue of profiling becomes very critical. We have to understand the status of each person who is coming back. That's why every ministry is now kind of represented at the receiving center. And these provincial centers have direct instructions and standard operating procedures which they are supposed to follow to ensure that we are handling this properly. So there's still a lot that has to be done. But I wanted, through the chair, to allow Mr. Zimunga to chip in on the issue of the children. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chair. The question about children, the 14,000, those ones are accompanied. They had their parents because we have to disaggregate this information according to age. So around 14,600, they are accompanied by their relatives. That one is not the problem. But the problem is the 8 children who were not accompanied, were traveling on their own. And these ones we've since identified their relatives and handed over them to their relatives who are here in Zimbabwe. And we are going to continue following up with their relatives on where they are staying, whether they are in school and whether they have adjusted. And this is what we do on a daily basis. Even before even before this program, we already had some children who were identified in South Africa as unaccompanied. They come to Zimbabwe through Bait Bridge. We take them to the reception center for like 7 days while it's addressing their relatives, and we reinvite them with their relatives. The aspect of health, indeed, some of them have ailments and want to go to seek treatment, and we are not going to start a new program, but use the already existing program that we have, where we provide medical assistance to those who are vulnerable and indigent. But this has to be done on a case-by-case basis. I thank you. And also regarding food, we are thinking of embarking on a cash transfer program to these vulnerable returnees. Right now, we are profiling them, coming up with a database on who is going where, so that we do our means testing, find out those who are deserving, and provide them with food assistance and some cash transfers, which are already doing to those who are already in the country of Honorable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair and Honorable Senators. Let me start by addressing the question from Honorable Senator Chabangu on, I think, the family tracing. You've done it. The Act, if you look at Section 2, paragraph D of the Civil Protection Act, where it says if there is anything that threatens the well-being of a community, that becomes a disaster. So the repatriation and reintegration of people who are coming from South Africa, it is something which is threatening the well-being of our people. So it becomes a disaster. It's not the first one. We are dealing with drug and substance abuse now. But not even a single day did the president say it is a disaster. But you cannot have a nation where you have a declaration of states of disaster. You must see that problem, if it is threatening the well-being of our people, it becomes a disaster. That's why we came up with that, those 7 pillars under drug and substance abuse. And it is the reason why the state, besides the constitution, which P.S. Kunaka, section 35 of the constitution, that we must protect our people. And in this case, state assisted programs under a disaster related program, it becomes a disaster. That's why we coordinate. That's why we have activated the Cabinet Committee on Environment, Emergency Preparedness, Disaster Prevention and Management. I'm sure, Chair, I've answered on that one. Then coming to skills audit, let me say we have not captured all the skills. One, for a reason which Honorable Senator Ndlovu was talking about. Some use undesignated entry points, and again, they might have the skills. But some have also decided to come back before social welfare and others started. So what Cabinet said last week on the 14th of July is that all the 92 local authorities in this country must assist us in capturing, and the chiefs must assist us in capturing some of the skills that we have missed before the 28th May, which P.S. Kunaka was talking about. So it's an ongoing exercise so that we also capture them until we get to the 111 for now, to see which skills they have acquired during South and on undocumented citizens and documented, especially the undocumented one. The president, if you remember, in 2023, made a pronouncement that let's register all of them. And I'm sure the Ministry of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage registered quite a number of people, and they even surpassed their target. And he jokingly, he said, you can call them all Kazembe if they don't have surnames. So I'm sure that can still be done. And from the meeting that we held yesterday, sorry for making reference to that meeting, the ministry is prepared to assist the undocumented citizens. Then coming to Honorable Kambizi, this one is a social welfare issue, and this one is a social welfare issue again. Then Honorable Manyengawana, you were talking about the magnitude of the problem that we are facing the magnitude of the problem that we are facing is one, again, emanating from what Honorable Ndlovu was saying. If people use undesignated exit points, the same challenge we will have is that when they come back, they also use undesignated entry points. So the magnitude that we are estimating is about 2.5 million. That's what the Minister of Foreign Affairs was saying, 2.5 million, but we have 500,000 people who are not registered, but the 2 million are registered. So I think that's the magnitude that we are looking at. And number of returnees will always make sure that we don't time frame this exercise. Remember, if there are 2 million people coming back and we are at 111,000, there is still a lot of work to be done, and there are a lot of resources to be injected into the whole program. So I'm sure then this one, the Gukura one, I wish I was a minister, I was going to can you spare us on this one, Honorable Chair? I think a minister can deal with this one. What role are the chiefs in DRM? If you look at the coordination architecture that we have in this country, it goes up to village head. We are now taking DRM to the chiefs after knowing that 67% of this country belongs to our chiefs in the rural area, and they must deal especially the challenge that we have with the reintegration. So we are taking the whole approach and the whole of society approach to ensure that our chiefs and sometimes our members of parliament, because these are your voters, you must also assist where possible and give guidance instead of talking about the three separate arms of government. When it comes to your voters, I think you can assist us on that one and give us advice. Thank you very much. Let me lost goods. Yes, what we did on people who are leaving their goods behind, we are in the process of discussing with the Transporters Association of Zimbabwe so that there is a lorry that can accompany a bus from South Africa with the goods of these people. So we are in the process of discussing that, especially where there are no vigilantes in those. In Mpumalanga, we are not even allowed to send our own Zupco buses. They say we have a taxi association, and what you do is allow us to ferry them. But luckily, we have people with permits that can go up to all these areas. So we are ferrying our people minus their goods. But I'm sure once we make a breakthrough with the towards people who also report through your committee clerk. I think on the port health issue, where you were talking about the spread of diseases, they are always there 24/7, and the clinic is doing a job. To date, they've attended to 1,407 people out of these 887 people.
Okay. Perhaps a follow-up.
Oh, sorry. List of donations.
Yes.
She must share the contact details with us so that it's there, and it's a cumulative one, and eventually we'll send it to Herald and Chronicle so that no one can tamper with those donations from our people. And we are also capturing some of the donations at Bulawayo Repatriation Center, a very busy repatriation center, and getting a lot of assistance from the faith-based organizations which PS Kunaga was also talking about.
We are saying in cash or kind. Now, just a follow-up on the goods of the returnees. Are they paying import duty or is coming duty-free? That's one. Two, import duty, yeah. And then, or is it just free? And then the other issue is to do with those with the Zimbabwe exemption permits valid until 2027, May 2027. What is the position on that if they have those validity? In your diplomatic coordination,
yes,
how are you handling that matter? And perhaps finally, what are the security guarantees being put in place in order to safeguard women and girls, you know, when the situation is as it is, havoc as it is, if I may say, or chaotic as it is. There's human trafficking, there's sexual abuse, all sorts of abuses, particularly when you talk about women and girls. Honorable Senator Shabam, not Shabam, sorry, Lunguban. You see you used to have something? Because you had said, okay.
No.
Yeah, you may respond to those issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, on the Gukura Undi, when I was making reference to, I don't think you necessarily have to be a minister because it's part of the disaster. These are some of the undocumented citizens who ran away during that time of the upheaval and have no reference whatsoever to make. Would they also fall under the Kazembe Zembe as was made, reference by His Excellency? Or how are you handling that issue? Because I want to believe it's a bit different from those ordinarily undocumented and those who ran away as a result of, that Gukurahundi era. Thank you.
Yes, from the reports that we get from the Registrar General, I think they all fall under the same umbrella. They are undocumented Zimbabwean people who must be given their Chitupa, birth certificates, and so forth. So the Registrar General, they will also interrogate those who say they don't have a birth certificate, but it's good that it's now a computerized system. They will, in that process, they can actually see that someone is lying, someone is not lying. So I think they are also doing the issue. Then the other question was on what is it? From what the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs was saying, I think we have made two breakthroughs in South Africa, that we no longer have our people being incarcerated. Once they get our people, they surrender them to the various consulates in South Africa. That's a breakthrough. Otherwise, they will all go to Lindela. Number two, I'm sure from the negotiations which Ministry of Foreign Affairs are doing, South Africa is beginning to recognize the Zimbabwe employment permit and for other reasons. So that's what we got from yesterday's meeting. Okay. Yes. Then on the issues of
meaning they will stay. They are not going to come.
Yeah, they will stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's a breakthrough. But the issue is on the payment of duties for their goods and everything. Mm-hmm. On the 7th of this month, Cabinet made a decision that to expedite the repatriation of our people, we must then give them a green route. Yes, but I'm sure the condition there was for Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Investment to come up with a statutory instrument which is also time framed to say up to this period, that's what they will do. So I'm sure Minister of Finance and Zimra are coming up with that statutory instrument, but I'm sure most of the time that green route is used, but I think there are some conditions on vehicles and others, so which his legacy from finance, we can use him.
Maybe you can respond to that.
No, I think the bottom line is we need to come up with the regulations and the operating procedures to exempt those people. But like he's saying, it was a cabinet issue, and they've said let's give them a green route. In terms of the application, the details, that's what the Minister of Finance is going to pronounce. So we have to wait for that. Yes. Yes.
The issue of women and girls abuse.
Yeah.
The safety measures put in place.
Yeah. The safety place in any disaster, Honorable Chair, there are certain violations, and it might not only relate to the women and children. It might be the security issue that we're discussing. Both the ground and the air and the ground space can be violated. I'm sure you know during Cyclone Idai how our air space was violated. We could see air vessels moving from Chimanimani to any other place. So in any disaster, that is, but we are happy that we haven't get any report of the violations of women and children, and we are happy that the people who are donating material are looking at the hygiene kits for both men now and women, because we have portable toilets. So if you don't give them the tissues, especially men, sometimes they are very careless. They can use anything. So the hygiene kits for the women and the hygiene kits for the men. That's what we are doing. And food for children is also being donated at the center. So I think in terms of porridge and peanut butter, I think we have our kids enjoying their lives at the center.
Okay. Yes,
Only men.
Go ahead.
It's a point of clarity from what Nkobo is saying. He said men improvise when they use it. So I'm asking whether it's only men, not women.
That's enough a clarification. Any more? No. Okay. Perhaps a follow-up. Surely this is a disastrous situation. And honestly, PS Kunak, you tell our committee that we are still yet to come up with measures to facilitate entry of goods of retainees today. You started this exercise May 28. So are you saying if I'm one of the retainees with my vehicle, my tractor, whatever, that requires to pay import duty, having arrived at the border on the 29th of May, I'll have to stay there looking after my goods until you come up with the statutory instrument that will allow me now to bring my goods? Is that what you're saying? Not being proactive?
Chairman, the submission is this issue has been looked at even at cabinet level, and a position in principle has been taken that these goods are going to enter through the green route. What I was referring to now are the specifics in terms of how do you treat a car, how do you treat a sewing machine, a welding machine, such things. That's what is going to be looked at through the regulations. So cabinet has been proactive on it.
Hamuna kupindura mubvunzo wangu.
We can come back, Chairman.
Hamuna kupindura mubvunzo wangu. Or perhaps you can say we are taking it further because vanhu vakatanga kuuya kubva ku-South Africa musi wa28 May. Ndauya musi wa29, musi wa30, musi wa1 June. Ndine zvinhu zvatiri kutaura izvozvi zvamuti zvinoda statutory requirements for entry without paying, having to pay duty. Saka ndichagara kuborder kusvikira, as we are discussing in this meeting right now, kusvika mauya ne-statutory requirement yekuti indibvumidze, ndizvo ndakangogara kuborder. And you are talking of constrained on resources. Muchingowachengeta vanhu because ndo twaitori natwo itwotwo, handigoni kuti ndibve ipapo ndisina kuchengetedza tunhu twangu. That's my starting point. That's my concern.
Chairman, it's fair that you are raising that question. The response that we are giving here is people who have been coming. Most of them have not bothered to present issues of vehicles and like that. So the issues which we are dealing with now have been people coming with their clothing, people coming with their kitchenware, and something like that. So we are saying going forward as government, we want to establish a proper mechanism and a framework to treat and handle those things. So this is why I'm saying in principle, Cabinet has said we have a green route for those people. But in terms of the specific regulations, those are what we can come back to you after consulting Minister of Finance. The challenge that we have been seeing, Honorable Chair, is people bring these small effects and the transportation has been jammed because people are bringing a lot of blankets, a lot of such things like clothes. And at some point we had a challenge where the buses, you'd find all the back seats, 3 rows and all that, they are just taken by blankets and everything like that. But these had the effects like furniture and all that, they have not been coming. So this framework we are alluding to, which are going to confirm with Minister of Finance, I think we'll clarify that. Yes.
Thank you, PS Kunaka and your team. I think on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank you. Information you have given this committee, and we have all the confidence that as government we are going to handle this issue to the satisfaction of the citizens of this country, and we will give you all the support that is required in terms of your efforts in handling this situation. Let me thank you once again, and for all the information that we have requested, you may kindly send that information through our committee clerk, Ms. Chikamba here. And if we also require further information, we will likewise communicate to you through our committee clerk, Ms. Chikamba. Our media personnel, we want to thank you so much for covering this presentation or this meeting. I think Tashka Kwambra Chikamaku.